so much ass, holy smokes, blown away. The character she will play is Elia Chameleon, who I haven't a clue who the hell that is.
I just had this vision in my head of her walking out. You remember from Machete, there's a sequence to do with a person's intestines and swinging out of a window. I can just see her doing something where she ends up wearing someone's intestines, and that's the whole thing of it being Lady Gaga. Because she does that. She wears that kind of thing normally.
I wouldn't be surprised if she actually wears the person who the intestines belong to.
Yeah, that's kind of a bit far.
Well, it is Machete Kills, so what do you expect? The LA Times are reporting that American channel CW is in early talks with bringing Battle Royale to the small screen as a TV series.
How?
No details have been released, apart from that they want the writer of the original novel, Kashun Takami, involved in some capacity.
How are they going to do that on a channel which in the States is one of these channels that can't show things uncut? Even when there's a film that's shown late at night there, they have to bleep it and cut it and stuff like that. It's only a channel like HBO, one of the big networks that are on a cable one, because there's a whole thing in America where you can't have violence and gore on screen on the public channels. It has to be the pay-per-view or the pay channels. So don't do it on the WB or whatever it's the CW, whatever they're called now, because they don't have the free reign to do it.
Yeah, I just don't want any channel to do it anyway. Battle Royale's a fantastic film. The second one's okay.
I wouldn't mind someone like HBO, which could do things really uncut. I mean, True Blood is an example of how uncut they can do things. Give them the rights for that. That will make a really good show.
Doubtful. Warner Brothers has announced they are contemplating making a prequel to Stephen King's The Shining, even though King has never written one, so it will be an original story. A spokesperson for the studio said that the concept is in very early stages and not even formally in development.
So someone just said, oh, let's do a prequel to The Shining. I bet there's nothing more further than that been developed.
Yep. According to a recent profile in the New York Times, it looks like the sequel to Avatar will not be out anytime in 2014. In fact, according to this profile, a 2015 release is the earliest the film will be out. James Cameron has said the film will be shot in Peter Jackson's Wellington Studios. Cameron has also bought a 2,500-acre farmland property to work on the script for the second and third film.
I think I know why this is. I think that it's been delayed for reasons linking to what I suspect is your final news story. That another film is going to be releasing another film for a few years yet.
Yeah, quickly, I'll go with that one anyway. It has officially been announced by Peter Jackson that there will be 3 Hobbit films and not 2.
Mm-hmm.
He took to Facebook today to officially announce it. He said as a part of his statement, "So without further ado, and on behalf of New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, and Wingnut Films, and the entire cast and crew of the Hobbit films, I'd like to announce that 2 films will become 3.
Yeah, so that means they're going to be released this Christmas, 2013 Christmas, 2014 Christmas, which means that 2015 is the first year that there's not a big Christmas film being released, and oh yeah, probably 3 for Avatar. That's why it's being delayed a year.
Yeah, definitely. And one quick one, at a profile in history prop auction over the weekend, a Chewbacca head that was forecasted to make between $60,000 and $80,000 has been bought for an insane amount of $172,000. Oh God, he's off with the impressions again. If you listened to last night's show, that was a bad impression of being.
Yeah, I have got a cold though, so I kind of sound like that normally anyway. I didn't need to put my hands over my mouth.
Yeah, we've been asking for some questions for you to send in. Unfortunately, we haven't received very many. Bouncy has sent us a couple in from the Holocaust.
Oh dear, here we go.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer the first one, because I don't know if you know who this person is. But William Castle was a genius when it came to film marketing and audience involvement. Who is this generation's equivalent?
I know the name. I do know the name. I can't think what it's for, but I know the name.
I know who William Castle is. William Castle was famous in the 40s, 50s and 60s for novelties in films. So, for instance, he did a film called The Tingler, where he attached shock pads to certain seats.
That's from that one that John Goodman played a character like that as well.
Yeah,
yes.
And during the film, people used to get shocks. He also did one where he gave everybody $1,000 life insurance. So if they died from the shock of the film that they saw, their family would obviously get $1,000. And so he's done those kind of films. And I've been racking my brain all day to try and think of somebody who does something like that. I couldn't think of anybody.
The only thing I can think of that's similar to that, because there's not so much the spectacle of films anymore, but the advancement of it. I mean, thinking of the person who's advanced film in such a way like that, I would have to say James Cameron, because if you think back, all the films he's done have been landmark advances in the way that filmmaking has been done. I mean, going back to things like Terminator 2, he created new special effects for the whole thing of the T-1000. With Avatar, he worked back and did the 3D and the CGI rendering in real time and the way that was shot. So I suppose you could say that, but that's the whole thing of what has advanced cinema, because it's not become it's not become a spectacle. Yeah, it's not gimmicky. It's in the actual the making of the film that the advancements have been made.
Yeah, the only other thing I could think of was when Snakes on a Plane was done. The fact that they got as many people on the internet to write bits and bobs for Snakes on the Plane and contribute to the film, so they got involvement from that. I just couldn't think of anything else where a director's gone far beyond like trying to like sneak into a film and shock people or stuff like that. I just couldn't think of anything.
If you're talking about the build up of a film, there's the best one ever that's been for years has been the group that did The Dark Knight Rises and all the promotional stuff for that film. There were things where people were getting messages from the Joker, and there was an online thing where people would get information to go and find something, and there was places like bowling alleys were left a bowling ball with imprinted with details of stuff and a bag, like a goodie bag, and it was just random things, and it built this big thing on the internet about it.
Yeah, it's really difficult. He also, another interesting question from him, he says, if you were taking a blind person, which film would you choose and why? So if you were taking a blind person to the cinema, which film would you choose and why?
The one thing that comes to mind right away is one of the best audio sequences I've ever seen is a film called Cypher, which has a sequence where a person's basically being brainwashed. And if you're watching it in the full 5.1, which I've done, there's the sound coming at you from all directions as this person's being brainwashed with hundreds of different signals. Is just I literally wasn't expecting it. I was watching it just thinking it's shot, and then that come along, and I was like, whoa, and it hit me, and it's just like amazing. It's hard to think of it for other than that for like a whole film.
Yeah, the only the only thing that I could think of was taking them to see a musical. So I was thinking something like South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
I don't know. Would I be sort of taking the mickey a bit by saying Daredevil?
No, it sort of actually, yeah. I would say something like South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, because then at least they still would be able to get involved with them having the musical numbers, and there is a lot more speaking about things, and there's audio gags in it as well.
No, you know what would be really good? Quiz show. It's like a radio play. Quiz show is a fantastic drama that is all about. Well, it's to do with television, but it works like a radio play. It's fantastic for that kind of thing.
And that George Clooney film as well, Good Night and Good Luck.
Yeah, there's things that play like a radio show. There are films that are really good dramas. We should get a lot from them visually, but if you were to just listen to them, there's a lot there in the audio and the sound which would really play like a radio play. There's some really good shows, good ones like that.
Yeah, and Sonny Phoenix, who's actually on the chat on Spreaker as well, he said, and again, this one will trip us up, apart from Dark Knight and Lord of the Rings, which other movie trilogies do you think the third film is better than the first?
I saw this earlier. Without a doubt, I'll mention it especially because it's coming up soon, the Bourne films. The 3 Bourne films have been one of those rare films where each one got better than the last. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, my mind went blank, but as soon as you said that, I completely agree with you there. I love each one of the films anyway.
Hopefully the Bourne Legacy will live up to that. We'll be reviewing that in, not next week, is it? The week after. 13th it's released.
It's a week on Monday when we'll review, because it's out on the Monday as well.
Yeah.
Honestly, I agree with you, because each one of the Bourne films has gotten progressively better and better and better. So I definitely agree with you on the Bourne films, but that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah,
can't think of anything else.
You can't really say about the Godfathers, because the first 2 are good, but then the third one lets it down, really.
Yeah, and I don't think there is anything else. So, Bon. So if
Yeah.
you've got any more questions while we're on air, just send them in on the chat, on the live chat, or on Twitter, EHDVD or Cryptic Tadpole, and we'll read them out. We've got a little bit extra time this week, so why not? Right, let's get on to our only review, and that's the Lorax. It's directed by Chris Renault and Kyle Balda. It has a decent voice cast, not a huge voice cast, but a decent one. It's got Danny DeVito, who does the voice of the Lorax, Ed Helms, Zac Efron, and Taylor Swift. Now, Zac Efron plays Ted. Now, Ted lives in a walled-off city called Thneedville. It is Thneed, isn't it?
Thneed, yeah. Or is it Thneed? Yeah. Thneed. THN or THM, I'm not sure, but
it's THN. I've got it down with that as Thneedville. As usual with these kind of animated films, the story in it is so simple. It starts off with your typical musical number. What it is in Thneedville, there is no such thing as trees. All trees have completely gone. Trees have now been replaced with rubber. They're just like, or you can buy these trees where they can do a multitude of things. There is a scene in the film where the mother says the tree can go from through the different seasons and disco on, so she bursts out in a bit of a dance. Now, where there's the bad guy who I haven't got the name written down and I can't remember the name of the bad guy.
It's Mr. O'Hare.
Yeah, Aloysius O'Hare. I have got it written down. It's somewhere down there, all the way down at the bottom of my notes. Yeah, Aloysius O'Hare. He owns this sort of like oxygen company where he bottles air in bottles, and so people get fresh air via that. And so Ted is wondering why there's no trees around, and he wants to impress his neighbour across the road, Audrey, like I said, voiced by Taylor Swift. The only way he can do that, he's told by his grandmother that there's somebody on the outskirts of town who knew what went on, so he needs to see him about trees. Now, this is voiced by Ed Helms. It's the Wonseler, who moved out into the countryside because he was mocked by his family that he didn't do anything with his life. So he moves out to the countryside. He comes across there's loads of like lovely creatures, bears and things like that, which are the best thing about the film, I think. And he gets involved with them. He discovers that these trees produce these really interesting fabric, which can create I can't remember the name of the clothing he creates. It's a really weird.
Like needlers or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a really weird piece of clothing. It's got loads of armholes and stuff like that. And the Lorax doesn't want him to take all of that stuff and moves in with him inside of his house. Here's a clip.
Ow! Okay, what are you...
Question. What are they doing here? And, follow-up, if I may. What are you doing here?
Well, after the incident last night, we found one of your socks and came here to return it. But when we got here, you were asleep.
Ew. Exactly. And sleeping is the body's way of telling other people to go away.
I know, but you looked so cozy. And it was cold outside, and we just fell asleep. No harm done.
No harm done? No harm done!
Okay.
Okay, I put my lips on the... Well, I used to, anyway. Ew! Did you just... In my bowl?
Heck, why do you have one of these? You don't even have a mustache.
Okay, that's it.
What? I thought we made a deal last night.
Yes, we did. And I said I wouldn't chop down any more trees.
And I said I was going to keep an eye on you. I'm starving. What's for breakfast? Breakfast is overrated.
So that was one of the clips, and during the film, it's the Wonsler who's telling Ted the story about what actually happened and how everything has become barren on the outskirts of town. And obviously, you can probably guess what happens next. It rolls on to find that Ted tries to find a way of getting order restored back to the town and getting it took away from Aloysius O'Hare. Now, for me, this It's a distinctly average animated film. In Despicable Me, you've got the Minions, which, like I've said in the news, the Minions are getting their own film, and this is from